Oh, I didn't know. I was just going to go right ahead. Love you, Uncle Wiggly Wings. Love you.
I love you too.
Oh,
Looking
thank
forward
you.
today.
Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Uh, Uncle Wiggly Wings, do you remember me? I am Daggy. And the first thing I want to say to you, like I always do, I love my Uncle Wiggly Wings.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
You are so welcome. I have known about you since I was 14 years old,
My word, lady.
but I didn't meet you till 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
All of my life, from the time that I was 14, I've had one wish growing up in Berlin, in West Berlin. I had the wish to meet the man that made all the Berlin children, the West Berlin children, so happy.
thank you.
And I was 14. I could not be at the airport in Tempelhof like all the other kids were. I had to go to work. So whatever news I got about you came either over the radio, the Freedom Station, Radio Rias, or the newspaper, or by word of mouth. Everything I heard about you made me want to know you and to know more about you. And you know, it was a miracle for me in 2015 when my wish came true that the school in Gara, the middle school, wanted me to be your guest when they had you as a guest. And I couldn't wait to get there that day. It was the 14th of May when you and I met for the first time. And when I entered these school doors and run down that hallway, and I saw you standing there, I kept thinking, is this really happening to me? But it was. I came into the room, I grabbed you by the arms, and the first thing that came out of me was, I'm the lady from Berlin, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you in person for the wonderful things you have done for us children in West Berlin when we needed someone so desperately to recognize us and to help us. You know, I think I told you at that time that we children were actually the forgotten ones after the war because the grown people talked with each other. They reasoned things out. They were able to communicate, but no one talked with us. We needed someone to recognize us, to know that we too were hurting. And you, my dear Uncle Wiggly Wings, you did exactly that. When you came by plane to Berlin, stood by that fence, barbed wire fence, I guess, and talked to all the children that were looking at you. You reached out to us, the forgotten ones. And when you did that, we were not forgotten anymore. And from that day on, you became what you were meant to be, the Berlin chocolate pilot, the love of all of us kids in West Berlin. And I think we were probably envied by the children that were in East Berlin at that time because they didn't have an Uncle Wiggly Wings. But we did. We did. And from that day on, from that very first day on, when you gave two pieces of chewing gum, divided them up, and handed them to those children, from that day on forward, it started the love affair between us and you. And it had lasted a lifetime. You're 100 years pretty soon, 100 years young and holding and keeping them flying. And we are flying with you. Wherever you go, wherever you want to go, there we are. We don't ever want to let go of that wonderful feeling that you gave us the first time you met the children at that barbed wire fence. Friendship, trust came back to all of us, not just us, also our mothers, our parents, our grandparents. We trusted again. And we didn't feel like enemies anymore because you, and then with you many others, made us into friends. And now many years have gone by since that day, and friendship is still holding. Love is still spreading. And my love for my Uncle Wiggly Wings grows bigger all the time. I am so blessed to know you because I came out of such dark times and I came into the light. My parents were hurt through the war and after the war. You know, after the war was over, the times were still pretty hard. It took years really to rebuild Berlin, or West Berlin was building up a whole lot faster than East Berlin. And West Berlin was a light side of the town, while East Berlin was a dark side of the town. And our light side was blessed to have an Uncle Wiggly Wings with his helpers. But I grew up during that time wishing for more. Wishing for what every person really needs to have and wants to hang on to. And that is the freedom to be ourselves. The freedom to make choices. The freedom to go where we want to go, be what we want to be loved by the people we want to be loved by. And to worship also the way we are meant to worship. Uncle Wiggly Wings, when you and your crew by plane during the airlift flew over Berlin, I gave you a name, and I still have that name for you. You were the angels that flew over West Berlin with metal wings attached to them. And from your plane and then your helpers came down the blessings to all of us by parachute made out of handkerchiefs with chocolate attached to them or chewing gum, whatever it was. But they came down from those angels that flew over West Berlin, supported by metal wings. And you were sent as messengers from the one that I believe in. We needed that. You were sent by God to help us out of a troublesome time, to start us to believe again, to trust again, to move forward. That's what all of you did when the airlift started, from 48 to 49. A hard time, yes, a hard time. But what blessings we received through those hard times. I am so grateful to know you. So grateful to be able to speak with you and tell you how I think and feel. And like I always want to do, salute you. And all the others that have been your helpers, been our helpers. But like I said, I was the one 14 years old that could not stand at Airport Tempelhof and wait for the angels on metal wings to come flying over and dropping their goodies. But one day, one day, Mom sent me on an errand, and it was a Saturday. And down the street, Straße, in Friedenau, I walked. I walked by a house that a plane had crashed into, and the crew died. And I stopped there. 14 years old, I know how to say my prayers. And I prayed for those people that lost their life. Then I continued walking down the street. And in front of me, just a little ways from that house where all those people lost their lives, there laid something on the sidewalk. It was a sunny day and I was squinting my eyes, but I saw something was laying there. And the closer I came, I recognized what it was. A parachute was laying on the sidewalk. And on the end of it was something good, but it was melting because of the sun. I bent down, I picked up what was left, and I did eat it. And when the sweet went down into my mouth and down my throat into my tummy, I looked up to the sky, Uncle Wiggly Wings. And I knew who had sent that parachute that was meant for me. Meant for me. I didn't take this parachute home with me. I don't remember the rest of the walk that I made on this errand. I just know I didn't pick up the parachute. I didn't take it home because it was walked over and stepped on. But I did eat what was on the end of it. And then I came home and told my mom all about it. Guess what, Mom? Uncle Wiggly Wings sent something special just for me. And I ate it. And she was not angry at me for picking it off the sidewalk. She just smiled at me and just kind of patted me on the shoulder the way I remember. And good for you, Daggy, you know. And this is my story about that day where I found something that was just mine to have. A little miracle laid on the sidewalk of West Berlin, Friedenau, West Berlin, and it was meant for me. Now I got older, married an American soldier that fell in love with me. Times for people in Berlin got better. In the meantime, I also found out you married, you had a pretty wife, all this was going on in that time. And the time went from 49 into 54. And I came in 54 to America with 2 children, Danny and Linda. And I came to Caney, Kansas. From there, we moved to Rolla, Missouri. And my husband, Fort Leonard Wood was where he was stationed. But I made my first home in Rolla, Missouri. And the first Christmas tree that was put up in my living room, under that tree was a chocolate bar. It wasn't a very large one, but it was a chocolate bar. And every year, ever since, Uncle Wiggly Wings, and I'm now 86 years old, every year, ever since, in my home, the tree is not put up till the chocolate bar is under that tree. So every year I have remembered the Berlin chocolate pilot. Not every day probably, because days got busy and I raised children, the family and all. But Christmas, I put the tree up on the 24th because that's in Germany the tradition. It's Holy Eve on the 24th. So the tree had to be up by the 24th. It wouldn't go up unless that chocolate bar was under the tree. So I could remember you. And the years went by and went by and by. I got older and older, and then all of a sudden, came the time where I sat in my den in Wichita, Kansas. I've been widowed since then and remarried. My children have grown up, and I have many, many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Each of them know our story. My love and admiration for the Berlin chocolate pilot. My family knows it, big to small, small to big. But here I sat in Wichita in my den, and it was the 24th of December, Holy Eve. Dale my second husband, was in the other room watching a television show, and I went into my little den, closed the door, and turned on the television set. And I turned it on, and it happened to be the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. And Tom Brokaw was there, and he said, I have a special guest for all of you. And he gave a wonderful talk about the man that I always wanted to know. Holy Eve, the 24th, in Wichita, sitting all by myself in my den, I received another miracle. When on the television set, I saw the man I wanted to see and know. The curtain fell, and there you were. You came out, and I just, from behind that curtain, walking down toward the front, and I just cried and cried and cried. Because I realized, again, I was given a gift, a God-given gift that I never thought I would receive. That night was really a holy night for me. Then I got to see what you looked like and what you sounded like. And I was beside myself. When the program was over, I ran out into the living room and I said, Dale, I need to tell you what I just saw and heard. And I just bubbled over. And I think I've been bubbling over ever since, because really it was just the beginning of all the miracles that God had in store for me, Daggy. You know, the program was over, Christmas went, I ate my chocolate bar, I shared it with Dale, and then I talked to my friends about what happened to me on the 24th. Holy Eve, Holy Eve. And it was holy for me, magical. And they said, Daggy, write the newspaper. This is a human interest story, and you need to share it. You need to share it with the world. People want to know about this. I went out to Dale and I said, guess what? And he said, don't start, Daggy, don't start. You're going to get into something again. But I didn't listen to him. I sat down and I wrote everything that I knew of you and me finding the parachute on the street in Berlin, Friedenau, and then seeing the program that I just saw and how excited I was about everything. And I did send it to the newspaper, the Wichita Eagle. At first, I didn't hear from them for a few days. So then I picked up the telephone and called, and Marsha Words answered the phone. And I told her what I wanted for her to know. And she said, hey, wait a minute. We have to do something about this. She said, let me talk to my editor, because you're right. This story needs to be told. And she went and spoke with the editor, and I got a phone call back, and she said, watch the newspaper, because we are going to print your letter. And my letter came out in the Wichita Eagle, talking about my miracle, my Uncle Wiggly Wings, and what happened for all of us in West Berlin, and how grateful we all were, and most of all me, that there was such a person as Uncle Wiggly Wings. And everything took off from there. Churches called, clubs called, wanting to hear the story of this little gal and Uncle Wiggly Wings, and what went on in Germany before the war, after the war, and so forth, and I was only too glad to tell my story. My story, my life, is a miracle that I'm here. Through the Second World War, with all the hardships the war can bring, could have lost our lives many a times. My father in Plötzensee, a prisoner of Adolf Hitler. My brothers only saved his neck because they wore the SS uniform. All of us remained alive. All 5 of us remained alive and came through the war. Went through these years, into 48, 49, and then after, all of us doing all right. One miracle in my family on the other. And they haven't ended yet, Uncle Wiggly Wings. At 86, I'm still counting my miracles, one by one, because God keeps them flowing. He keeps them flowing. Uncle Wiggly Wings, you mean so much to so many of us. You can just not imagine. You can really not imagine. And there aren't words that I could use that would really bring it across. That you are a God-given gift to many, many people. And most of all to my homeland, in my hometown, Berlin. The world needs people like you. Because good comes out of you. The minute I looked into your eyes when I first met you, good came out of your eyes. And I believe that the eyes are the soul of that person. And good came out of your eyes. And I just loved it. And then I looked at Lorraine, and good came out of her eyes. And I loved it too. But you're the ambassador of everything good. And God picked you to give that message, not just to my country, but to the whole world. Uncle Wiggly Wings, you are so special. And this little girl here wants for you to stick around. God willing, please, another 100 years. Will you do that? Because we need you. We need you. And we want you. And I love you so, so very, very, very much. So, Uncle Wiggly Wings, from my heart to yours, and also to your whole family, because they supported you in your endeavor of being a family, a dad, a father, an uncle, cousin, whatever. They supported you in all of this. And they kept the goodness flowing. They're keeping it flowing because you're in them and they're in you. So, Uncle Wiggly Wings, all of you Halversons, keep the goodness flowing and know that people like me really need that. The world needs it. So please, stick around.
Well, you made my day. Have made my year. Thank
and
you.
happy, happy, happy birthday.
Thank you. God bless you. You're an inspiration.
You are the inspiration. You are.
You certainly are, and God bless you. your life and the rest of your good days on the earth. Sure appreciate your message. It makes me very humble, but warms my heart too. Thanks, Sunshine. You're special.
Remember, you're my sunshine. You're my sunshine. And not just mine. Many, 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 many people. You can't count them. Many people. You are their sunshine.
Now, where do you live now?
Oh, I live in Springfield, Missouri. We are living in a senior complex, you know, and I have an apartment.
Oh,
And doing well. You know, we're keeping isolated like we have to do, but we're doing well, you know, and like I said, come Christmas, do you just wait and see that Christmas tree goes up and the chocolate bar is underneath it. And sometimes I don't even share the chocolate bar. I eat it all by myself. Just like I ate that smidgen that was on that parachute all by myself. You know,
well, you
there's a
real bright life into the spirit today, and it's so good to talk to you. So wonderful to see you.
Uncle Wiggly Wings. God bless you. God bless you.